Hey everybody, welcome to the Bullseye channel. I hope you're doing well. In today's episode of Oversharing, we're going to be talking about something, tangentially related to sports and performance and overall well-being. But today we're going to be talking about weight loss, fasting, and a ketogenic diet. So a little bit outside of the realm of what we normally talk about, but I feel like some of you are comfortable with that, and so we're going to go ahead and get started. So I'm sitting here. You're going to see this, a few weeks in the future, so welcome from the past. But I'm sitting here with an avocado, this little baby avocado, and this avocado is going to break my 5-day water fast that I have been on here at the end, and it concludes a little bit of a journey for me in terms of nutrition and well-being, both mental and physical, and probably forecasts a way forward for me. And I wanted to share a little bit about it because I know in the Bullseye community, right, like it's something of a sedentary sport. Nutrition is not talked about a lot. Fasting isn't talked about. And at the end of this video, so we're going to talk about it. At the end of this video, you will see the look on my face when I finally eat for the first time in 5 days. It's been going great, feeling great. But first, a disclaimer. I am not a healthcare professional. I am not a doctor. I am not a scientist. I'm not a super person. The credentials that I have are my own experience. And so please understand that this is for educational purposes only. Strike that. It is for entertainment purposes only, and that you should definitely consult a physician or a dietitian or a licensed professional who is knowledgeable in your particular situation before making any changes to your diet or conducting any fasting. So let's talk a little bit about it. Sometimes weight loss can be something of a sensitive subject, and so we're gonna delve into it a little bit here. So let's tie it first into, right? So I already mentioned that in the Bullseye shooting space, in sports performance, even though intermittent fasting, ketogenic diet, nutrition, and all of that stuff are talked about a lot on the internet, they are not talked about within the context of shooting. And I will have more on this on the channel if you guys are interested in it, about how I thought it affected my attention and performance. But I think that most of us can agree that an individual shooting would probably shoot better if they showed up to the line with a little bit more confidence, a little bit more health, if they had a little bit, better handle of their own physical and mental well-being. And food is intimately tied into the culture that we live in and the culture that we swim in, and we are bombarded almost hourly with impulses to feed our demand to feed ourselves. And frankly, that has led to a lot of negative consequences, in the modern world, namely type 2 diabetes, fatty liver disease, just the whole cornucopia of metabolic disorders that are plaguing not just this society, but even societies that have traditionally been extremely resistant. I'm talking mainly in Asia, but extremely resistant to some of those metabolic issues. I have my own opinions about what the cause of that is, and quite frankly, I think the cause of that is excess sugar and carbohydrates, so specifically sugar. It's in a lot of things, and most of the things that we need and most of the things that they crave. And we crave them sort of primitively, right? We want calories to preserve ourselves, and all of our pleasure senses are sort of like titillated and satisfied temporarily by these just like incredibly satiating, palatable foods that are out there. And so it's a dangerous space that we work in. And what I'm about ready to present to you, this whole idea of like weight loss, fasting, and a ketogenic diet, run directly opposite to that. It'll make sense once I sort of get into my background. And so let's get into my lifelong background and talk about oversharing. So I'm 44 years old. I am, an active individual. I've been active for most of my life, not all of my life, but I've been active for most of my life. And I have always struggled with my weight. So at the highest peak, and I'm talking like over 20 years ago, But even before then, I was a chubby fat kid in in adolescence and leading up into my late teens and almost to my 20s. I peaked at over 300 pounds. I don't even remember because I think I stopped getting on the scale. And over a very a 4-year period of time, I actually managed to lose about 120 pounds. At that time, I did not do it through fasting or ketogenic diet. I chose the path of sweating and starving, and managed to lose all that weight, and then gained that weight, and then decided late in terms of the relative entrance into the military that I wanted to be a Marine officer, and I lost it all again. And so I've been there and done that twice. All that to say, I would say the most persistent thing in my brain that has had my attention throughout my entire life has been my weight. And a lot of that is not even physical. It's like almost entirely mental. And so if some of you are out there and you've always struggled with weight, or if you grew up fat, that is like, what that does to your sense of self and your mentality and your confidence and things like that. And so like divorcing myself from that was much, much more difficult, and maybe not even complete, than actually losing the weight. And so I've always been seeking the path that I thought was sustainable, that I thought was good for me, and that sort of like made the point. I have maintained that I guess since the second time losing it, I have maintained that over 100-pound weight loss for over 20 years. And thought that, hey, I'm good, right? Like I'm good. I can do whatever I want as long as I just like keep the weight down through a lot of variety of different methods. And I felt great. I mean, honestly, like just losing that much weight and keeping it off makes you essentially like it's a very, very small statistic. Like I think it's under like 3% or something like that people are able to do that. And so I took a lot of pride in that. But still just felt like I hadn't found a path that made sense for me. And then I think some of you can probably relate to this. I know we've got some older viewers on the channel, but like, here, let me get this framed up for you. But you start getting into your middle age, right? Middle age is an interesting transition time for men, women, the human body in general. And some of your LIVIN starts catching up with you if it doesn't catch up with you sooner. And you go to the doctor and it's like, you're good. And then it's like, whoa, hey, we got some metabolic things that we need to talk about. And you need to start making some life corrections, and you need to start making some lifestyle changes that are going to positively impact yourself. And I'm blessed to have like a pretty good physician, a great physician, love them dearly. But even they're sort of like, they're open to they will prescribe you the typical prescription, which is you need to eat a low fat, high carbohydrate, high protein diet in a consistent calorie deficit in order to lose weight. And there's a lot of truth to that, right? Like I think that if anybody, broadly speaking, people who are on the standard American diet, if they adopted that plus a regimen of just moving, which could just be walking, they would see, significant benefit. But for me, even doing that, right, like doing all of those things, cutting out the things that you don't need, it just still wasn't making a movement, right? Like, and sort of like the metabolic mess, right, that I had seen, and it wasn't detrimental, but it was enough to get my attention. And so it just kind of happened that, like, obviously I've heard of intermittent fasting. If you're on the internet, you've heard of intermittent fasting, and if you've been to the grocery store, you've heard of keto. But for those who don't know, right, like intermittent fasting and fasting in general, we're going to talk about extended fasting too, is a way of intaking calories where you sort of restrict to certain time periods. At its most simplest, it is skipping breakfast, right? And not snacking and skipping breakfast, right? That is like the dumb way of putting it. And you can vary that. You can skip breakfast and lunch and not snack and have just one meal. Or you can you can get a little bit froggier with it, right? Like, and you can really start restricting to one meal a day, or you can alternate a full day fasting, a full day of eating 3 meals. It's really whatever works for your schedule, really. And that's one of the benefits of it, is like, you can do it or not do it, right? If you're going on vacation, you cannot do it, and you can just get back on it. And then a ketogenic diet, a properly formulated ketogenic diet, do your own research, this is for entertainment purposes only, is a diet that highly eliminates sugar. And just by me saying this, like, it's going to become clear. Basically, you're keeping your carbohydrates under 50 grams a day, which is like incredibly minuscule compared to the amount that, like, even a standard nutrition would aspire for someone losing weight. And so that means you kind of have to say goodbye to some of the better foods out there, better tasting foods out there, like rice, pasta, bread, pastries, and eliminating sugar, right? The body does not need sugar, right? It does need a certain amount of carbohydrates that you can get from vegetables, but it doesn't need sugar. And sugar really tastes good. I don't know about you, but I like ice cream. I will be going to Andy's. And so at about the same time that I was hearing sort of like friends experimenting with this and kind of like struggling with the methods to get a handle on this, I saw a YouTube video, right? A lot of good ideas come from YouTube. And I read Dr. Jason Fung, got a YouTube channel. It's great. And he had 2 books, and he has many books, but I read 2 of them. I read the Obesity Code and the Diabetes Code, and they're very, very closely related. And essentially in that, he argues for the adoption of one or both of a ketogenic diet or an intermittent fasting regimen. And he sort of lays it out, and I found his argument to be compelling, right? And I was like, well, you know what, I'm gonna give this a try, especially like, as you guys know, I've been traveling over the last 4 months. When it's just you by yourself controlling your own food, it's very, very easy to do that. You can eliminate distractions. And so I did that. And over the last 4 months, I've lost 20 pounds. Some of that is a little bit artificial because I'm in a 5-day fast right now. So there's a lot of that is water weight, and we'll get to that in a minute. But that basically is the background, right? So the last 4 months, I started out, even before I went and started traveling, I started eating 2 meals a day, or putting a full day's food into just like an 8-hour block. And that really didn't seem to do anything for me. And so then I was like, all right, well, on the weekends I did just 1 meal, or I restricted my eating to maybe a snack and a meal within a 4-hour period. And that's when I started to see a significant loss in weight, outside of what I would anticipate with like a normal baseline of dieting. And then when I was traveling, I sort of like amped that up, right? Like I was like, all right, I'm gonna eat well, I'm gonna exercise well, I'm gonna move, I'm gonna lift, and I am going to start restricting the carbohydrates more severely. And I thought that I was, and I saw positive impacts. I was eating a lot of protein at the time, a lot of steak, a lot of chicken, a lot of turkey, you name it. And I was having, a lot of avocados. Got to eat more freaking avocados in the past. 4 months that I think I've ever eaten in my whole life, and now quite enjoy them. And I felt like it was going well, and I was doing well, but I had been measuring, and you don't have to do this, right? But I had been measuring my blood glucose and my ketones, which tells me if I'm in ketosis, and I have been in ketosis for 3 months, pretty much straight. And so my body is acclimated to it. Like my body is running off of fat, either from my body or from the food that I eat. And I've noticed an improvement in mental clarity, but I still was having sort of like sticky blood glucose. So fast forward to the last month, I said, okay, well, traveling, the days that I travel and the days around I travel are like pretty hectic, and I don't want to buy new groceries, so here's what I'm going to do. I did a 72-hour fast. I had done it previously, like a long, long time ago, and I was like, I'm going to do a 72-hour fast, and I'm going to see what happens. And mostly I was doing this just to see if I could do it. I was doing it for some mental and spiritual benefit. And so I did that. And quite frankly, the experience to me was astonishing. The first 24 hours, particularly if you are a frequent eater or if you eat carbohydrates. And so there's a recommendation to sort of wean off your sugar and carbohydrates before you enter into an extended fast. You would not want to be freaking carboholic. And I guess now that I think about it, I was in Japan for 2.5 weeks during this 4-day period, and like I wasn't dying at all. Like I was eating, I was probably Sushi Ro's #1 customer, and I was crushing sushi, and I ate all the sugar and I ate all the rice. So other than that, right, you wouldn't want to go into something like that and then bam, go into an extended fast or even intermittent fasting, though that might be a little bit easier. And so I did the 3-day fast, and here was my experience. I was pretty grumpy and grouchy for the first 24 hours. Like about that time that you're like, oh, I'm supposed to be having that one meal a day, and I'm not having it, and I'm wanting to choose violence. It didn't. It was hard. It was hard. But the next morning, your body's pretty satiated in the morning because your body will send a surge of glucose into your body to sort of like wake itself up and get things moving. I was surprisingly not that hungry. It was a little naggy during that second day, and I tell you what, this is the amazing part, and I'll reflect on this for the 5-day, was that when I woke up on the 3rd day, I could not believe how little hungry that I was. It is online with other methods of reducing hunger that I have tried in the past, and it was amazing to me. I was like, okay, let me get this straight. I haven't eaten for 48 hours. I am feeling fine. I am feeling alert. I am not feeling hungry, and I was moderately sort of PTing through that entire period, and my performance really wasn't suffering. Let me pause for a minute, and then we'll come back to this sort of superpower of suppressing hunger. During the extended time that I was in ketosis, I have probably PT'd more than I have in a long time, right? You're by yourself, you PT. Take care of yourself, right? That's rule number 2. And I can say without reservation that like I'd started doing more endurance work when I finished after running my Marine Corps PFT, which is a 3-mile run. I was like, all right, well, I'm going to start running, 3.3 and then just increase it by 10% every week for that long run. And I mean, the longest I've run is almost 9 miles. We'll get to that here in a minute. And the experience that I had was like, even in ketosis, and if you go out on the performance and you buy any performance subs and like all that crap, it's a lot of sugar. It's a lot of sugar. I didn't take any of that. I just drank water, drank tea, drank coffee, right? Had some electrolytes. It's pretty important when you're doing an extended fast because you lose a lot of water weight, you lose a lot of sodium, potassium, magnesium. I felt great. Like my energy level at the end of a long run was not low. My knees hurt, my back hurt. I'm 44, right? Like the things hurt. My heart was like, oh, why are we doing this? But I wasn't tired. And I think like had those other things worked, I could have gone a lot longer. Coming back to that superpower, like that is the thing about fasting, and like it's more mental than it is physical. Like I can't believe that I can do without food. And then it was just amazing. And so I broke my fast, and we'll talk about coming out of an extended fast. And so this sort of combination of these fasts has been pretty interesting to me, and it has been an interesting journey. And I think it's something that I can adopt in the future going forward, though getting back into family life, when you have obligations, you have family dinner, you have events, you have things like that, it's going to be hard. Like, and I'm still trying to figure out a way to do that. Fast forward to this last week, I felt like I had been on this journey. I wanted to honor myself with something that I'd never done, and so I honored myself with a 5-day extended fast. Obviously, I watched every video on 5-day extended fast that's on YouTube, and I began my process. And it was the same experience, quite frankly. I'm a grouchy caterpillar for the first 24 to 32 hours, and then you wake up on that late second day waking up on that third day, your hunger is nearly gone. Now, that doesn't mean that you aren't, that you don't like food, right? That was one of my concerns, is that like it would make me not like food. No, like the sight of food still excites me. I freaking love food. I love to eat. I'm a big boy. Like, I like to eat. And like I see a hot dog, or I see some barbecue, or I see some noodles, and you're just like, oh my gosh, I would love to eat that right now. But it's not a hunger thing, it's a mental thing. Last point that I'll make, and I know I'm kind of going all over the map right now, coming back to the ketogenic. So if you guys want to know like kind of what I ate, like it was a lot of pickles, cheese, avocados, eggs, beef, grass-fed beef, that nice like fancy grass-fed beef, although I think that's like kind of a trick, grass-fed beef, because I'm not sure there are any rules around that. A lot of stuff in the slow cooker, right? That slow cooker was like a lifesaver, and that sort of like made up, and nuts, and there early on I was eating a ton of nuts, and that came back to bite me. So back to the intermittent fasting, right? I really wish I would have reordered this a little bit better for you, but please stay with me. I noticed like, man, even with a ketogenic diet that I think is good, and I wasn't tracking anything. I was just eating foods that they say to eat. They say to eat, that the interwebs say to eat. I was like, I'm just still waking up with like incredibly high blood glucose, not incredibly high, but like higher than I would want. And what is going on? And the takeaway was peanuts. Peanuts, relative to other foods that have a low glycemic index, actually have a lot of carbohydrates, and they release slowly over time, right? Because of the fat and all that stuff. And so I was freaking housing peanuts. I love nuts. I was housing peanuts, like cashews, macadamia nuts. There isn't a peanut out there I don't like. And peanut butter is my like weakness. I freaking love peanut butter. Peanut and jelly sandwich, like, oh my God, just saying those words makes me want to eat it. And so I was like, all right, for a variety of reasons, mostly mental health, like I didn't want to track my calories, but I was like, for 2 days, I'm going to type in what I'm actually eating. And what I found out is that I was consuming a ton of carbohydrates and nuts. And so I backed those off, and almost immediately after backing those off, I saw that blood glucose come down, which was great. And I was like, all right, well, so I'm not an anomaly. Like, I am a human being like everybody else, and my body responds normally to these things. And then that combined with like really the secret, and I'm going to say it, like, it's a big ask. It's a big ask for an adult with responsibilities. But for me, the secret was carbohydrates under 50 grams a day. That's hard. You can get that in just vegetables I was eating. Oh, that was the other thing I was eating. I was eating a massive amount of green, crustaceous, dark leafy green vegetables. Like, and when I say a lot, I mean, like, think of like the family pack of, kale or whatever, or 50-50 greens or whatever. I was crushing those. I might eat one of those in a sitting. Like on top of eggs with some hot sauce, and it's like, when it's just you in a hotel room, you can eat like an animal. Like, it's pretty great. Politeness goes out the window, and you get a lot of carbs from that. You get the carbs you need, right? Imagine that. You get the carbs you need from the things that nature grows, and not that we grow in nature. It's pretty surprising. Not really. And so that's when it started really coming down. But the sort of like the it's not a hat trick because there's more than one, but like carbohydrates under 50 grams a day, getting 8 hours of sleep. That's hard for an adult. That's hard. It's hard to get 8 hours of sleep. And I mean 8 hours of sleep, not 8 hours where 2 of those hours we're sitting in your bed watching, videos of the Bullseye channel. Although I appreciate that, but just, do it responsibly. A walk, believe it or not, like measurably difference, a walk after dinner, doesn't have to be long, and exercise, right? Like those were, I guess that sort of is exercise, and limiting, or I said limiting carbohydrates. It also, I had to make an adjustment to the amount of protein that I was eating. Protein is everywhere. Literally, you can't look at a label now where someone's not advertising the amount of protein that's in their food. Yes, you need a decent amount of protein, The bodybuilder and the performance forums are going to tell you that you need, a gram per pound, which is 200 grams of protein. You don't really need, in my opinion, entertainment purposes only, you do not need that much. And so I had to, and protein has a surprisingly interesting effect on both blood glucose and insulin. And so like you had to figure it out, right? I gave up whey protein. I switched over to a collagen protein that had less protein, and I tolerated that really, really well. And then I quite frankly, and this is hard to do, like it's scary, especially for someone who used to be obese. I made the decision to increase the amount of fat I was eating. So I got that through eggs, a little bit more nuts, not too much, avocados, butter, all these things. So, and that's when I started seeing those results. So weight loss over the last 4 months has been 20 pounds down. Excuse me. I'm excited to eat, I guess. Has been 20 pounds down, managed to at least get an understanding of my ketones and blood glucose. I mean, like marked improvement. My sleep has been better. My health has been better. I literally went through the TSA screener the other day and they didn't recognize me. They were like, your picture doesn't match the picture that we have in the file. The algorithm doesn't think you're you. And I was like, well, I've lost a lot of weight and I'm pretty handsome now. And the guy was like, all right, Major, get on your stupid plane, get out of my face. I would say that like, for me, it's not, and maybe for you, entertainment purposes only, consult your licensed physician. It is not a silver bullet. It's just a really powerful tool that can potentially, if it's right for you, be in your back pocket. You can do it. Like you absolutely can do it. And the best thing about it is it's free. It isn't Ozempic, and like no judgment for people who have tried GLP-1. I think it's an amazing drug. I also think it's an incredibly expensive drug. And I think we need to seek a solution to the obesity crisis that we're experiencing and the crisis of bad health and bad confidence by paying ourselves, not paying others. If you have to do that, right, like, and I think, hey, do it. But maybe talk with your doctor and give this a shot first, because I think it's a pretty powerful tool. So the 5-day experience for me has been great. The last 4 months of doing sort of these on and off have been helpful. I'm being very prayerful and mindful about, hopefully I can find a way to continue this when I'm back to the world of more obligation. But I wanted to share that with you. From a shooter's standpoint, I think that it gives me confidence, and anything that gives me confidence on the line is helpful. It also makes sure I get better sleep when I'm doing that, and that's more helpful, right? So ketogenic diet, intermittent fasting, extended fasting, I would probably, I would recommend you look into it if it's something that you think that might work for you. Your doctor will probably have some concern with the amount of fat that you're eating. You just have to be, mindful with him and have a conversation and say, hey, this is something I want to try, right? You can find anything on the internet that says that dietary fat is not a problem. It's family, and certainly I have a lot of family markers that would lead me in a metabolically bad direction. And you can find things that tell you that like eggs are going to kill you. I think ultimately you have to give it a little bit of work on yourselves, and things like that are delicious. Meat's delicious, butter's delicious. Like, these things are delicious. So I'm going to, I think I'm going to end the video here. It's already a pretty long video, to just say, like, I hope that where you're at, I hope you're being healthy. I hope that you're taking care of yourself, right? This is rule number 2. This is in line with the channel, right? You're taking care of yourself, right? And your health is very, very important. And so you should do that. If you don't think that you can do an extended fast, you're wrong. You can do it. You've got all the power in the world, and you're going to unlock a superpower that you never thought that you had. And it's pretty amazing at middle age to realize you can do something that you never thought that you can do. So have that conversation with your physician or your nutritionist, people who are knowledgeable about your experience and your particulars, I would encourage you to go over to Jason Funk's channel. I would read, some of those books. You can really just watch his videos and you're going to get the gist of it. But he has a plethora of videos, and obviously it's the internet, so there's a lot more out there. He's just the one that I felt was the most approachable, honest, and had a significant amount of experience. So with that, let's do this. Pretty excited. Food is, if not the greatest thing, one of the greatest things in the world. Like an avocado, this one's a little ripe, so let's go. 30-minute mark on this video. Let me know if you watch me eat this avocado. That is indeed an avocado, and it's coating my mouth and it's tasting delicious. So I need salt. Need salt and garlic. We'll do one more bite. One last point, coming out of a fast. Sorry, I told you it's gonna be all over the place. I swear to God, I have just an outline. When you're coming out of an extended fast, don't go balls to the wall. Your body has not processed food in either 3 or 5 days or however long your fast is. You need to start with a little broth the day before, which I did. A little chicken broth, a little bone broth. Yes, there are calories. You don't have to be crazy about the rules, right? Being healthier is about making broadly beneficial decisions for you consistently over the long period of time. What does that sound like? To me, that sounds like the process of getting better at performance, like shooting. You need to practice for a long time. Over time, consistency is the answer. But when you're coming out, you want to start a little bit of broth. I want to start, maybe I should talk for myself, not speak for others. You want to eat something that is easily digestible, and then about into that, that last day, then you can have your crave meal. For me, I'm still going to eat smart. I'm still eat ketogenic. I'm going to eat light. And then I think tomorrow I won't eat all day, and then I will have like a typical meal, which I'm really looking forward to. I'm going to do it with friends. So, long video. Let me know if you've experienced this before. Let me know how your health is, right? Well, you don't have to put that on the internet. Don't do that. But just know that I hope that your health is good. And leave you 3 rules for life. Rule 1, don't be a jerk. Rule 2, take care of yourself. Rule 3, help other people. And as always, know you don't know what's going on in someone else's mind. They don't know what's going on in your mind. So be kind and courteous with dealing with other people. Thank you all. Hold hard, shoot straight.